Good evening, friends. இன்னைக்கு நம்ம பார்க்க போறது ஐகான். நம்ம மைண்ட் யுவர் மைண்ட் ப்ரோக்ராம்ல 9வது எபிசோட் பண்றாரு திரு Mario is going to talk about the icon, about Steve Jobs. Today, actually, I want to tell you something. Today is the Internet Safe Day. So it is necessary to use safe internet. Always monitoring child. Make sure you choose strong password and secure information. Keep your privacy settings high and ensure your security. Ensure you are up to date with all latest secure software. Remember to be vigilant on your mobile as your desktop or laptop. So there are lot of information we need to take care of while using internet. You should not click unnecessary downloads, unnecessary links. So since it is necessary, we have to remember this. I just want to talk a few words about this. The wonderful speech of Mario will begin now. Mario, you can start your talk.
Okay, thank you, Uncle.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Until last week, we saw the entire early life of Steve Jobs, and then how he was able to build Next and Pixar. So we are coming to the end of the book, and by the end of next week, we'll be able to complete the final chapters of the book. So this week, we're going to cover, the story of Steve Jobs between Next and how he came back to Apple and revolutionized Apple and all the products that we came to know later on. So at this point of time, Steve's personal life was improved. He got married to Lorraine, and Lisa, who was his daughter from Chris Ann, was now a teenager. So they started talking to each other. So meanwhile, what happened was Apple was struggling under a series of different CEOs who couldn't inspire the company as much as Steve did in the early days. They were losing money and becoming irrelevant. So if you look at Apple in the 90s or in the late 90s, before Steve Jobs came back, it wasn't doing too well. It wasn't doing too great. So the last of these CEOs, one of them was Gil Amelio. What he did was he reduced inventories and put the money on a solid financial footing, meaning he had inventory of close to $1 billion, which he converted and got $1.5 billion. And he slowly reduced inventories that they kept in Apple. So what happened at this time, Apple decided that their computers needed a new operating system, and Steve Jobs' next step, which was the operating system of Next, proved to be exactly what Apple wanted, and they purchased Next for $378 million and 1.5 million shares of Apple stock. So Jobs soon regained control of Apple and became interim CEO. To stabilize the company, what he did was he made a few essential changes and an unpopular alliance with Microsoft as well. And meanwhile, at Pixar, Toy Story was released, and it turned out to be a huge success, as we discussed in the last chapter. It turned out to be a huge success. So what happened in 1995 when Pixar, this was between Pixar and Apple. In 1995, Pixar's IPO was announced, and a lot of Pixar's financial advisor told Steve Jobs that he may not it may not be a huge success. But what happened at this point of time, there was something that was building up, which is called the um internet bubble. So in terms of the stock market, prior to Pixar, there was another company which did not show profitable financial years, but was able to get a very big IPO and very big investment. So Pixar had not yet shown major profitable years. So he was his financial advisor was skeptical whether it will make it big. But what Steve Jobs did was he was very clever. He announced the IPO. He scheduled the IPO 1 week later than when the Toy Story movie was released. Since Toy Story was a huge success, that helped the IPO become a huge success. And Steve Jobs was a billionaire in 1995, soon after the IPO was announced. So once he realized that Pixar is going to be a bigger company than he expected, he got back to Disney and they came up with a new contract which gave him more control and more revenue from the products that they sold, because Disney was controlling the merchandising fees and the distribution revenue. So they came to an agreement where Steve Jobs and Pixar would get a better deal out of it. The reason why, because Disney CEO Michael Eisner feared Pixar would uh, partner with another firm or partner with Katzenberg. Katzenberg was part of Disney under Michael Eisner, but he quit the company to start his own production house, his own company called DreamWorks. DreamWorks produces a lot of movies. If you notice, a lot of animation movies nowadays, DreamWorks is a big studio. But that time, Michael Eisner feared that Pixar would join Katzenberg, and hence they sealed the deal with Pixar and Steve Jobs. So Pixar already now he became an equal partner with Disney. They got 50% share in whatever was produced. So Pixar started making Toy Story 2 to go on videotape rather than it being a theatrical release, but they stopped it in the middle and decided to go on a theatrical release. The reason why, because um, they came to know later on that they were about to fail if they released it on video directly rather than a theatrical release. So this time at Apple, Jobs, once he got back at Apple, he started making a lot of changes. And if uh, the major change in Steve Jobs was he was more mature and taking decisions based on the market, based on the consumer, rather than his own choice. So there was a time where uh, one of the engineers said Steve Jobs had he looked in the mirror and he'd always come up with what a product required. So he asked his entire engineering team to do the same. So in turn, what happened? Everyone came up with different ideas and they filter the ideas to get the best product out. So this time, Steve conceived the iMac, which was a return to the original computer of the Macintosh. So iMac was a huge success when it was released, and it started producing a steady stream of income for Apple as well. Apple products, um, Apple products slowly started to come back into the market, and this improved the earnings of Apple. So Jobs was still a tough negotiator, especially in his dealings with Hollywood. But he now was more of a reflective person. He started realizing that it's not only about him and his own thoughts and his own liking to be done across wherever he worked, but he gained experience from multiple failures along the way, and he started developing. Uh, he started creating good ideas and developed ideas of other people as well. So his wife was also, a very famous person. She uh, started multiple small companies in food businesses, and they were once invited even to the White House. So Steve Jobs and his wife was once invited to the White House for a dinner as well. So Steve Jobs was, elevated to a major status in the US and in politics as well. So what happened at all of this time was he started thinking of what other industry he could get in, and one of the industries that eventually he got into was the music industry. At this time, if some of I think maybe uncle or madam could think of, uh, in the late 90s, music industry was coming into a revolution. MP3 format was developed, and the music files could be downloaded online for the first time. Until then, it was all paid, and artists would receive a royalty. But slowly, at the end of 90s, MP3 was available on the internet, and there were many websites that came up where you could download the music from that. So eventually, Steve was looking for different software that would um, bring him to the industry of music as well. So what he had learned, from all these ventures which failed was he had learned that success had not come only from hardware but software as well, and he slowly started looking into different opportunities in different fields where he could lay his footsteps. So coming to the end of this session, there are a few things that I like to highlight. One very important thing is what I really get, from Steve Jobs' life and story is if we truly believe in our idea or a vision in a product or a vision for the future, and if we stick to it when no one else does, we've got to stick with the idea. For example, in terms of Pixar, there were many times where he decided to close Pixar because it was not providing profit, but he was convinced that Pixar with the animation software and the team behind it and the talent of John Lasseter, who was the director of behind the movie, he continued to stay with it, believing that one day it would become profitable, and it became such a huge success that eventually Disney bought Pixar for completely. So when we stick with it when no one else does, eventually it will succeed. But it's those tough times that we've got to go through, and that teaches us a lot of lessons, and eventually it will succeed. But we've got to stick through to it, stick through till the end. So this is not only with the life of Steve Jobs. If you've noticed, other great entrepreneurs, for example, Jeff Bezos, in 1997 or 1998, when Jeff Bezos presented his idea to an investor, I recently saw this video. When he presented his idea to an investor, he said that I'm selling books online from my garage. So, and I will become the world's richest man in about 20 years. So, the investor who he presented this idea to, laughed his guts out because he thought, how is this idea even going to generate revenue eventually and grow big, and he becoming the world's richest man. Jeff Bezos said he even mentioned the value of $100 billion. Um, and even at that time, no one even thought, of a value of $100 billion, a single person owning $100 billion. So even if you look at it, even Jeff Bezos stuck through with this idea. He slowly built on it, and eventually Amazon is Amazon. Another person, if we could look at, is Elon Musk. It's someone who I follow and I really admire. In 2008, 2006 is when he got Tesla, the electric car company. In 2008, he was almost about to close it, but he still decided to stick through it. When people asked him, why did you choose to go into Tesla? He was into SpaceX, which was a rocket ship company. And then he moved to Tesla, which was an electric car maker. And he said, one reason is I want to prove to the world that electric cars are not boring, and it can, change the entire world in terms of consumption of fuel. So what happened was it was not looked as a big idea. But over 13 years later, today, Tesla is one of the highest valued companies in the world. He's become the world's richest person now because of Tesla and the growth in Tesla. And eventually, a lot of companies, a lot of great big manufacturers like General Motors, Volkswagen, all the big companies, eventually, decided that the next wave of vehicles would be electric cars. So I think, we've slowly, if we, have a great idea or a product or a service or a vision, and if we stick with it till the end by working on it continuously, I think it eventually will succeed. And so this is a great story for us to take away from this part of the book. Thank you, Uncle. Thank you, Madam. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Mario, so finished, huh? Till so are you going to finish by next week?
Well, next week it should be done.
Okay, right. Okay, good. Happy. So Tesla, we didn't know the history of Tesla and everything, so we got some information. Madam, anything you want to say?
Well presented, sir, as usual, in a crisp manner, and how we should do things which no one has done. We should venture into that, keeping in view that in future that will have the demand. And that risk taking really rewarded him, but for his health, otherwise he was successful. And it was very nicely presented, sir.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Selva, are you here?
Yes, sir.
You want to say something to Mario?
Yeah, it is a nice presentation, sir. Sorry, I couldn't follow some of his presentation, but I attended at least 4 or I think 3, almost 3 I attended. Anyway, Steve is my hero. I almost know what's his story. Steve is like, he's the one first to believe in vision. He was the one who told the technology to follow design. So since I am a designer, he is my guru. So he proved the world that, the vision and the design, if it's perfect, then technology can be, doable. The technology can be, anytime it's possible, but the vision, the idea, the logic, right? The concept to reach to the people, especially user experience. This is all, defined by him. He made it, proven by, giving more billions of dollars. So people started to believe it. So I love to always listen Steve Jobs' story. Of course, Elon Musk is another, influencer to prove his vision. I like it. It's morning motivational talk. Thank you. Thank you, Mario.
Good. I think really it is reached you. To start with great enthusiasm. Happy Mario. So you did a very good job.
Thank you, Uncle.
So happy. I'll do one thing. See, after finishing everything, once you finish, I'll mix up everything in one video. All episodes, the complete episodes, we'll mix up in one video and we'll place it in YouTube.
Okay.
Clear? Okay.
His presentation alone concisely, you can put it, sir, avoiding all the feedback and
only speech.
Speech you can abridge.
Only speech and his content. Okay, that will do. Yeah.
That will.
So very nice. You
very helpful to the people who listen.
Yeah, that will be very much useful. Then I'll give that video connection to you also. So great job. Really, I appreciate you personally. We really enjoyed. So we are waiting for your final episode. Happy Mario. Super. You are the hero for us now.
I think once you are combined that video,
exactly
the audio, I will listen again, sir.
Please.
All the 350 pages, nobody can have time to sit and.
Yeah.
Sir, unless I listened to him the first episode which I listened, after that only I picked up the book and I started, since I'm not exposed to
great.
type of
Oh,
field.
great.
So it will be very useful for the people. Stephenraj, for him, it is the field and it is his hero. He may know things, but the ordinary layman also will understand who is Steve, what
Of
he has
course,
done.
of
So
course.
this can be a presentable one, sir, for them.
How he struggled and how he came up and then how he joined with many ventures and everything. So everything really, really, see, you fulfilled my will, Mario. Thank you very much. Really
Doing my
wonderful
part.
presentation. So we are waiting for the next week also. Thank you. I'll close the live. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.